How do we keep creating when Hollywood is on fire, or when we have our own personal troubles or tragedies? How do we find the energy or the strength or the inspiration to keep creating? Well, we have to keep creating, and that's the truth. Welcome back to my channel. This is Sam from thesamanthawild.com. So happy you're here. Don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe, and why not share me with a friend? Head on over to the website, see what's happening over there. I have a new blog post over there, a couple new beautiful pieces in the weaving shop. But today I want to talk about what's, probably on a lot of our minds, as in fact, there are these terrible wildfires, not wildflowers, that would be better, wildfires happening in Hollywood. And I want to talk to you about one of my latest pieces that is actually going to become a bag. That's what I'm going to work on this weekend. Can you see this? I wove this on my new peg loom, and I wove it with fabric. And I want to talk to you about the reality of weaving on a peg loom and the metaphor and the beauty of weaving with rags, fabric, or clothing. I had a dress that was given to me. The material I loved, beautiful, adorable, but the dress never worked. Another dress that I turned into pants, tried to sort of salvage, loved the fabric, but it never worked, not as a dress and not as pants. I roughly cut them. I thought, don't sit down and make perfect cuts with any of my weaving. I just don't have the time. Busy mom of 6 here. Sometimes all I have is an hour a day. Sometimes all I have is an hour a week. And that's the truth. So I love to do things in the moment, and I'm often weaving in the moment. So you can see the dress is in here. Both of the dresses are in here. And what they make is this very wonderful dense fabric, which would make a wonderful rug, or in this case, and I'm gonna start working on it, turning this into my bag, but not any bag. I'm calling it my Beauty for Ashes rag bag. Okay, so right before Christmas, my only aunt died. She's my mother's sister. She passed on. She was a really wonderful, beautiful, inspiring person to me. Every single time I talked to her, she had something encouraging or uplifting to say, even when her own life was a pile of crap. And when I started this weaving, I was thinking a lot about her, and I was thinking a lot about how powerful it is for us to use what we have. Now, we call that sustainability, we call that upcycling, we call that recycling, we call it just making sense. Our ancestors did it because they had to. One of the traditions that I weave in is sakiori weaving, which is a Japanese word, which means rag weaving. And sakiori weaving was done because that's all they could get their hands on. They couldn't get fiber, so they wove with rags. Well, either in reality, like in your day-to-day life, you can't get a hold of some good fiber, or metaphorically speaking, sometimes we feel like we can't get hold of some good fiber. The world feels like it's exploding, or it's the end of time, or there are disasters everywhere and mass shootings, and things can be really, really hard. And we need to remember that we can always use in our life and in our creative work, whether that's painting or weaving or writing or ceramics or cooking, anything we're doing, we can always use what we have, whatever those elements are. This is the gift of our ancestors who they couldn't go to Joanne Fabrics. And they also couldn't go to therapy 3 times a week because there weren't therapists on every other street corner, nor could they go to yoga. I can say that because I've been teaching yoga for like 25 years. So this Beauty for Ashes rag bag is based on these principles that we can take, and this is a line from the Hebrew scriptures, we can take our ashes and they can be transformed into beauty as a sacred and spiritual process. I've talked about this before on some of my videos. You might want to check out my videos about the healing power of our creativity and our creative work. But here I really want to talk about how it is a mobility effort for our mind and heart when it's sunk. So you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, oh, this is really bad. Hollywood's on fire, climate change, disaster, yada, yada. We could go on. And that can get us actually stuck into not feeling creative, not feeling our juices, or it's really hard. But we want to sort of switch and dive. Not doing our work and our art doesn't help people who are struggling or have their homes have burned. I mean, that's just the truth, right? It doesn't help anybody if we stop our creative work, unless you're a firefighter and you need to drop it and go fight a fire. But what our creative work does do is it contributes beauty and goodness into the world, but it also essentially transforms us and our outlook and ourselves. It allows us to get into that flow state, which is so powerful. We know this from research, and it allows us to create a beautiful product. But what I find is really important when we're working with upcycled or recycled materials is that we get into the mind state, and we have then reflected to us in the products that we're creating that we really can use everything. We really can use the dresses that don't fit. Well, let's think about the metaphor of the dresses that don't fit. You know, a lot of life is like that, right? A lot of life is like, this doesn't fit. This isn't right for me. The right partner, the right boyfriend, the right girlfriend, the right house, the right dog, the right job. It happens all the time. But we can still use that element, whatever that element is. If it's a literal dress that doesn't fit, or if it's a symbolic dress that doesn't fit. And what we're doing is repurposing it. So we're not using it in its original form. We're taking strips and we're in strands, and we're allowing it to become something else. Sometimes you can't even overlay what you think it should be. You have to just start making and say, what do you want to be? What could you be? How does this contribute to the good of the world? Well, I don't know everything. I don't know anything really sometimes, but I can say that stopping our own creative flow really doesn't help the places in the world that are suffering through disaster, unless it's directly taking us from an action we could do to be there on the ground or to make the money that would help to contribute. But when we are in our space of flow and creativity and reflecting and absorbing the powerful lessons, like you can use what we have, then we become engines of that in the world. We become engines of change, we become engines of love, we become engines of healing. And when I was doing this weaving, of course, thinking and meditating about my aunt, there was a lot of healing for me in that, and an opportunity to reflect on the gifts of her life. So it's personal, it's political, it's local, it's global, it's collective, it's important. So that's all I want to tell you today is your work, your creative work is really, really important. May you find some time to do it, and in that way to really dig into using what you have to make something beautiful and good. Don't forget, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. So grateful for my new subscribers and my old subscribers too. Head on over to The Samantha Wild and let's stay connected to each other. Have a creative day.